We're brothers, we're happy and we're singing and we're colored. Give me a heart.
All right, I think we on. I'm trying to figure out this new restream stuff. It just seems weird. It looked cool at first, but I don't know. But y'all know what it is, man. It's your boy Joe Castro, aka Philly Fresco, here with my brothers from another mother's. That sounds kind of, but it is what it is. That's what we are. My guy, Big Game James in the building. George Carmi in the building. Boys, what's going on? What's going on?
It's good, man. Good to see you. How you doing, man?
Can't call
Just
it
good,
bad.
good, man. It's been a while, but we back.
Yeah, it feels good. I mean, look, the season is still, I think, like 60 something days away. So we still got a long time till football actually starts. But one thing that, will never stop, right? We'll do this year round is we're going to judge these players. So today we're going to judge these quarterbacks. We're going to give you our bottom 12. And then next week we'll do the mid 10 and then we'll do the top 10. So we'll make you wait a little bit. But it's already kind of interesting because there's and I wanted to kind of throw this out there and see what you guys think. It feels like there's so many new names. Like looking at George's list and looking at James' list, I was kind of like, damn, I forgot him. But yeah, I kind of forgot about him. Like there's so many, changing of the guard, so to speak. Outside of Patrick Mahomes, there's nobody that's really, you can make a case for anybody to say number 2. So how fun or easy or hard was it for you guys to make this list? Just looking at the quarterbacks going into next year.
Okay, so go ahead.
For me, from the are you talking from the list we just made, or for the list as a whole?
I mean, as a whole, we'll go as a whole.
I'm gonna say I'm not gonna really say it was really hard at the top to the bottom. Well, it was kind of hard if you're basing it because we're talking about, are we doing the body of the work, or are you talking about last season? Because that comes into play in your mind when you're doing some of these quarterbacks, i.e. Dak Prescott. And, you can look at his year was phenomenal, but if you look at, is he top 5 overall? You get what I'm saying? Like, there's other quarterbacks, Matthew Stafford, Jared Goff. There's other quarterbacks that had really, really good years. And you can sit there and say, oh, well, they had like maybe a top 5 year, but are they a top 5 quarterback in your head? So I think that's where my comes into play when I was doing these lists. So I feel like that is the biggest thing that come into play. Maybe not so much with the bottom half. That is more trajectory at the bottom half because there was a lot of rookies I kind of threw in there. So that was maybe the kind of hard thing, looking at the trajectory according to what a guy has already done in the league. Then you're kind of going on, okay, I think this guy, because I'm looking at his upside, that he probably can do this. So I think that's what I was going through on this list.
Yeah, I'm right there with you, man. I think you nailed it. I think it's walking into the list, you have to figure out what kind of criteria you even want to address the list with, right? Was it based off of last season? Are you going to factor injuries at all? Are you looking at the future with these players? I feel like the top of the list was somewhat hard. You have baby goat, Patrick Mahomes, put them all in the top, right? And you look at that number 2, number 3, like, is that Lamar? Is it going to be Josh Allen? We'll see what I put up tomorrow. Later on in the week, we talk about this, who's up there in the top. And then, like, a lot of people, they always just kind of clump the rookies all the way on the bottom of the list because they haven't stepped on the field yet. People have that belief. I didn't go that route. I mean, we'll talk about it with my list today. I was like, who do I actually think is going to be a good quarterback walking into 2024? My list is a little bit different. Like the rookies aren't on the bottom. Like if you're trash, you're trash. I got you all the way at 32. Like Aiden O'Connell, I'm looking at you, man. You're all the way at the bottom of the list. And that's kind of where it's at, man. Like we're going to kind of talk about it and break it through on our list today. It's going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah, look, it's funny that you bring that up because you look at, I was kind of going through that myself. I was looking at these young guys, looking at the rookies, and it's like, I did put some of these rookies pretty high. I'm going to be honest, at least in my opinion, but it really came down to scheme. It really came down to what they were walking into, right? Like if there was a rookie going into the Raiders, I probably wouldn't have that same, grade on him or same, foresight on him if he's going to, I don't know, the Chiefs or a team that is known to kind of build quarterbacks or has a really good team in place. It would be different. So looking at the system, looking at the schemes, looking at what these guys are going to be walking into, what type of team they're walking into, and it brings me to Jaden Daniels because I wanted to,
my boy,
I wanted to talk about Jaden, and I wanted to talk about kind of the rookies in specific a little bit more. But how was it looking at Jaden Daniels and looking at him in the league? Did it give you more confidence about him going into the league, like where you kind of put him as the quarterback going into next year? Or did it kind of make you be like, all right, he's got a lot of work to do? Like, how did you feel kind of walking away from that experience, I guess?
I try to temper my expectations is what it comes down to, right? Because obviously this is the best time of year. Everything's all roses at our respective training camps. Cowboys camp's doing good. Eagles camp's doing good. Commanders camp's doing great. We're hearing nothing but good things, man, about Jaden Daniels coming in at 5:45 in the morning, working with Luke McCaffrey. Coaches, people love him. I like that high upside. And on my own show at Big Doug and Carmi, we're having all these guys naturally coming by and talk about fantasy and talk about where does he sit. People are really high on him, and maybe I'm kind of drinking the Kool-Aid a little bit because I do see some upside. And my biggest thing with him is Cliff Kingsbury is our offensive coordinator, and he had Kyler Murray cooking as a rookie. Man, he was, potentially. I think he actually won Rookie of the Year. When Kyler Murray was a rookie. So it's like Jaden Daniels has that upside. I am, we're going to see he's on the list today. He's actually, I don't have him as a top 15 quarterback already, but I do see some upside and actually have a surprise. We're going to talk about it when we get to our list. He's actually above some people that would be kind of an eyebrow raise for other people. So I'm excited about it.
And I'm going to kind of pose the same question for you, James, because you talked about Dak, but we've done it, right? We've had to do it. I've had to do it with Jalen Hurts. I had him at 20, I think, his rookie season or his second season as a full starter. You know how I hated that. But we look at Jaden Daniels, we look at him, he's in our, division, obviously. What are you thinking about these young guys? What are you thinking about these rookies coming into their first year? Is there anybody in specific that kind of stands out to you?
Really, Caleb Williams. I want to see if the hype is really there. A lot of people hyped him as generational. You get tired of hearing that because every quarterback is generational now. You know what I'm saying? So I think that's the biggest one for me is Caleb Williams. He's got weapons. He's got DJ Moore over there. He's got Keenan Allen now over there. He's got Romeo Dunez, I believe that's the rookie that's going to be there. So he's got a lot of weapons. Tight end, I believe, as well. So he's got some weapons. There's a lot of hype surrounding him. So I think my eye is on him. Also Jaden Daniels. There's plenty of upside, dual threat. And like I said, he was a good player at Arizona State, I believe was the college before he transferred. So it's not like he was a bad quarterback before he came at LSU. So I think those guys in particular, I mean, a lot of them, Drake May, there's a lot of guys I'm intrigued about what they can do. JJ McCarthy, I think was a little overrated to me, but I'm interested to see because they're talking about he can unseat Sam Darnold early. I would like to see if that can happen. So there's a lot of intrigue for me with this rookie class because look, what they said it was the first rookie class that had this many first rounders in history, I believe. So definitely interested to see what's really going to happen with all these guys.
Yeah, it's gonna be fun. It's gonna be a fun season, and it keeps the NFL wide open. I mean, you obviously have your favorites. There's the top teams, but I think that there's a lot of interesting positions that some of these rookies are. And you even look at the guys that are definitely not going to start. I mean, unless something crazy happens. But like a Michael Penix, I'm excited to kind of see what their plan is with that down the line? How quickly do they think that he's going to go in there for, Kirk Cousins? So there's a whole bunch of storylines. Like you said, it was historic in a bunch of different ways. We could talk about wide receivers, but that was crazy what happened with that with the draft. But we'll stay on quarterbacks today. So we'll get right into it. I guess we'll keep you talking, James, and we'll start with your list.
Okay.
We'll start with your bottom 12. So, like, again, I mean, I want to kind of, before we get into any of this, I want to kind of say, and I think that I speak for all of us, we're no quarterback savants, we're no experts. This is just our opinion. And obviously, it'll be fun to kind of go back and look at how right or wrong we are. But this is our bottom 12 for now. So, yeah, James, you could take over and let them know what you're thinking.
All right. So first, we've done this list with the last couple of years. I think we haven't been crazy off as far as like how we think about these quarterbacks.
Yeah.
It's going to be interesting to see how it goes. So I'll start with number 32. I'm gonna go ahead with Bo Nix, Denver Broncos. I think the Scott Stidham or some quarterback over there. I don't even know who he is, but I'm gonna go ahead and give Bo Nix the nod. They got Zach Wilson over there too, I believe. So there's going to be a battle. Sean Payton, he's got a bunch of what you can say replacements there. But Bo Nix, he's got a lot of experience, right? Played in college forever, seemed like. Had a lot of hype at the Senior Bowl. A lot of people liked what he did, and it's going to be interesting to see. I don't know. I'm not so high on Bo Nix. I don't know. Maybe he works with Sean Payton if he gets the nod because he had a Drew Brees, and I'm not saying the Drew Brees, but he has that maybe compact kind of size, and I think he has maybe those kind of smarts, and I think that's what Sean Payton can work with. With 31, I'm gonna go with J.J. McCarthy. Sam Darnold is over there as well, but I feel like they want McCarthy to play early. So I'm gonna go ahead and throw him in there over McCarthy. Obviously, they won the national championship over there in Michigan. He's got good size. He's about 6'3", pretty good arm. Play with Harbaugh. I think it was a good system that he had under there. And he really showed his mettle, especially like against Ohio State. Really showed a lot of good poise in the pocket and can, run the ball as well. So let's see what he can do. And he's got weapons right over there, right? You just got your boy JJ just signed a big contract. Addison is over there. I believe TJ Hawkinson is over there as well, I believe. So he's got weapons. So I think we'll see what's happening, but I'm not the guy that's like JJ McCarthy. So that's why the guy's at the very bottom for me.
Yeah.
Then we go with Daniel Jones. Daniel Jones, who? Daniel Jones. So Daniel Jones for me, man, he was always overrated when he came out of college for me. I'll never forget I was going back and forth with Anthony Wright. He used to play with the Dallas Cowboys. And he was like, nah, watch out for Daniel Jones. Don't be sleeping on him from Duke. I'm like, nah, he ain't going to be good. And guess what? He's not good. And, obviously he had the injury. But I just feel like that year that he had, you guys, right, when they went to the playoffs, that was fluky, and it wasn't a crazy year. It wasn't like you were like, ooh, Daniel Jones arrived. I don't know about y'all. Did y'all ever feel that way? I did not.
I'll be honest
Nah.
because I'm an honest person sometimes, right? I did. After I think his first year, I was like, all right, maybe this kid could do something. And it
No.
wasn't after the playoff year. It was after literally the first year where he had all those comeback wins. It was just kind of fun to watch. He was putting up big numbers. They didn't win many games, but I did for a second think maybe Daniel Jones can do something, but I was wrong. And I'm happy to be wrong.
with me, I bite my tongue with Daniel Jones. If you look at Daniel Jones' record, he's trash against everybody across the league, but he just crushes the Commanders every single time that he plays them. He turns into Vanilla Vic, man. He ends up like 80 yards, 90 yards rushing, a couple of touchdown passes. It's ridiculous. Like, I think ultimately he's not a good player, and I think the Giants are going to regret paying him $40 million per year. But, I think it was a fluke. I think just like you, James, he was overrated going into the draft. I didn't think he should have been a top 15 pick, whatever, top 10 pick, whatever he ended up being. And I think he's an athlete. He's pretty athletic, but he's more of like a high-end backup, lower 30 in the league kind of quarterback as opposed to top 10, top 15.
Yeah, man. I just feel like, the time is run its course with him. And even when they had Tyrod Taylor, I thought Tyrod Taylor was a better quarterback than him. To
Mm-hmm.
be honest with you,
Mm-hmm.
so I just feel like they just paid him. I think they should have just waited. Sometimes these guys get hyped over a guy because they want. I feel like it was a situation because they were wanting so bad for him to be it, so them not to be wrong. So when he finally showed something, they got to the playoffs, they jumped right on it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And say, okay, yep, see, there he is. And it's like, no, it's not. But hey, that's fine with me because they can keep him the starter as long they keep him the starter. Dallas is going to keep on beating them. I know that. So I'm cool with them keeping the starter. So keep him where it is.
My
At
only
20,
thing, my bad, I
go
don't
ahead,
mean to
go ahead.
cut you
No,
off.
no,
My
no, no, no,
my
go dog.
my only okay, if you think Daniel Jones can make it happen, then you think he can make it happen. But and this is gonna pay me to say there's similarities with the whole Jalen Hurts situation, right? There's definite things that Jalen Hurts can't do as a passer, and there's a lot of things that he can do that are I feel like overstated, but there are things that that he needs to work on. And Daniel Jones is very similar. Obviously, Jalen Hurts, in my opinion, is far better, but the similarities are there. So why not build a team around him instead? I feel like they're dismantling the team around him after they sign him. So that's the only thing that really, really like puzzles me. I don't know why they gave him the $100+ million, but if you're gonna give him the money, at least try to build something around him. You know what I mean? Maybe it's just me.
No, I mean, I definitely feel what you're talking about. You know what I'm saying? But I just feel like, you know, you got to look at it like, man, maybe we made a mistake because it's not like he was going around blowing it up every single year, right? It's not like you were
Facts.
saying, "Oh, it was Daniel Jones, Daniel Jones." It was okay, Daniel Jones. We're waiting, we're waiting, we're waiting. Oh, it finally showed, and then, bam, it comes back to life. We've seen quarterbacks time and time again. They have that one good year, but then they go right back to who they really are. And I
Absolutely.
feel like that's what Daniel Jones really is. He reverted back to what he really is. That's not what he was. He played out of his mind that one year. We've seen quarterbacks do it. Nah, but like I said, hey, keep him, keep doing what you're doing. I'm cool with that. I'm not mad at that at all.
From what I gather, the owner really likes Daniel Jones, and that's the problem, right? I think like the coaching staff are kind of over him. They feel like he's not really that talented, but the actual owner likes him, and that's why they paid him. That's why they're stuck with him. But I don't have the contract right in front of me. I was trying to pull it up while we were talking. I think he only has like the contract's kind of funny looking. It's a big contract, but I think he can get out of it by the end of this year. So I think he actually was in a good shape. He can actually like I think the Giants could essentially draft a quarterback next year, let Daniel Jones walk, and be okay with it. And I think that's what's going to happen. Like they wanted JJ McCarthy, but they didn't get him. So I don't know. See what happens.
Mm.
Yeah, I mean, it is what it is, but I'm gonna go ahead and keep him at the bottom of the list because nobody's kind of scared of Daniel Jones. Let's keep it real. Once again, that's when you guys had that playoff run and you were like facing Daniel Jones. We already said, well, you already got a good first round victory.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm. It
Saying
was
we all
nice.
knew that. We all
It
knew
was
that.
nice.
So then I went with 29th with the New England Patriots. Obviously, they got Jared Mayo as their new coach, right? So it's a new era as far as quarterback will go. They got Jacoby Brissett and Drake May. I think Jacoby may end up being the starter because he's been with the Browns. He's been with other teams where he's been the starter and he's been effective. So I think he's an effective quarterback in the short term, and I think that's what may happen. I don't think they want to throw Drake May in, week one starter. I think they want to bring him along slowly. But I think when you see Drake May, he has the nice arm. He's thrown for quite a bit of yards at UNC, but he has mobility. I've seen a little bit clips of him at the training camp. He's got some moxie. Very vocal type quarterback already. I think the team is kind of gravitating to him, but I think they want to bring him along slow. But I feel like Drake May has talent, and we'll see. Uh, playing in that AFC East, when does he play? I think that's when we're trying to wonder when does he play. Does he get in mid-season? When does he really come in? But I think he has potential, but that's kind of a wait and see. So that's why I did them as a combination. Gordon Minshew. I got Gordon Minshew next. Gordon Minshew was over there at Indianapolis. and he had them at the brink, right? He almost had them.
He was pretty good.
About him, Mister Joe Castro.
I
Uh,
got love for Gardner Minshew. I got love for Gardner Minshew.
He's a
you know what
winner,
I'm
man. He
saying?
plays hard.
Hey, he plays hard. He was right at knocking at the door for them to get to the playoffs, and everywhere he kind of goes, right, he gets teams to win games, and he has some numbers like Gordon Minshew. Will you'll be looking and be like Gordon Minshew, 400 yards, 4 touchdowns. You know what I'm saying? Like you will see that in him. So he's one of those spot duty guys. They also have he's over there in Oakland, and they have the Odell kid, right? Aiden Odell kid.
Mhm.
And he's a young guy and he has the trajectory. He started some games, but I think Gordon Minshew comes over there and instantly can, come in there and be the starter. They got a pretty good defense. And, maybe they want to see if, is he can he get us there right now and continue to build on Aiden O'Connell. But I like Gordon Minshew right there. And then I got this is where it gets kind of tricky right here for me because this is a whole wave of young guys. Okay,
Yeah.
so now we got the Jaden Daniels from Washington. Obviously, we saw what he did. Heisman Trophy winner, dual threat guy. Um, I'm a little, I don't part of me don't want him to be good, okay? Because he played for Washington and he's in my division, he's in the Cowboys division, and I'm part of that little part of me like, man, I don't want him to be good because I feel like he is going to be good. Um, I think he's got maybe a good base. You got McLaurin, you got receivers around him. Like I said, Dan Quinn, I don't think he's the great coach, but I always feel like his first few years, he's a good coach. And he's got a really good staff around him. I think you guys got a still pretty good front on the defense. And like I said, you got a good staff. So I think he's in a good place right now because the team he's going to is not broken. There's not no pieces. There are pieces that are in place. So there's it really if he can come in on the scene and explode, the Commanders are going to be in a good place as far as fighting for maybe possible a playoff spot, right? Because I said they could possibly win 9 games this year, right? So um, that's going to be interesting to see. But he has potential. Throwing the ball, he's slippery, and really, broken plays. He can really get out there and really punish you on the ground, and that's what we see a lot. The new wave of the quarterbacks, right? The dual threat guys that can really hurt you in the, with the arm and the legs, and that's what Jaden Daniels presents. And when they drafted him, I was like, damn, I wish they would have got Drake May, but they got Jay McDaniels, and so Jaden Daniels. So we'll see. Um, Bryce Young. I didn't believe the hype on Bryce Young for real when they drafted him out of Alabama. I felt like they were trying to say Russell Wilson because of the size, but I thought he was just way too small, um, and that's crazy that Carolina didn't pick C.J. Stroud. That's wild. Um, that's wild. That's wild. You know what I mean? Like, I get, you playing with Alabama, but just because you play with Alabama don't mean it's always you're gonna be great. I mean, we see Tua, right? I think Tua is good, but I don't think Tua is ever gonna be great. Not for me, not in my opinion. Um, I think Tua got really good weapons, right? Um, but I don't know if Tua is great without them weapons. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I feel like when I look at Bryce Young, um, it's a we'll see. You know what I mean? Um, didn't have a great team around him. 2-14 as a starter. Um, 11 touchdowns, 10 interceptions, under 60% completion percentage. But right, he had one of the worst lines in the league. Right, took a lot of sacks.
Mhm.
Didn't have a lot of. I get it, no weapons. So you got the new coach, and he's supposed to be the quarterback whisperer. Right, he got guys together, really put them. Took them to the next level. So I want Bryce Young to be good. That's my thing. I want Bryce Young to be good. So we'll see about him. So I throw him in there because we've seen quarterbacks have a bad rookie year and then they start to come on after that, and we can't just throw away a guy after 1 year, especially a quarterback, right? So I'm not going to do that, and we'll see what the young coach because maybe the young coach can bring him up and let him play some better football. And then Will Levis above him. Um, you know, I thought Will Levis was a little overhyped. At Kentucky, I thought he was a maybe like a Josh Allen type as far as big arm, athletic, but erratic as far as throwing the ball. But he came in there with Tennessee, and he had some moxie to me, y'all. He had some moxie. I like how he played over there. And he had DeAndre Hopkins over there. He got some. They're getting some receivers over there. They get Tony Pollard is over there with Dallas. So they're getting some players over there, getting him some weapons. He had 1,800 yards passing, 8 touchdowns, 4 interceptions. Not bad. Was 9-9 as a starter. So I like him. He has big size, right? Big arm. Um, and I think he can be a good player. He's continuing to get that accuracy together because he was under 60% as well. So that's the thing. I'm going to continue to look at would he ever be the accurate quarterback? Because, like I said, he reminds me of the Josh Allen, all that talent, but will he be accurate? Because to me, even Josh Allen, we see all the turnovers he has, right? And it's because the inaccuracy. Because if you look at Josh Allen, even when he was back at Wyoming, he was a very inaccurate quarterback. And that plagued him in the very beginning of his career. And you see it kind of rearing his ugly head all through his career. I think Will Levis might be that type of guy. Always have throw a lot of yards, but he'll throw a lot of interceptions too. Just kind of me. Um, and then Caleb Williams, right above him. We kind of just talked about that. Number one overall draft pick from USC, saying he's a generational talent. I don't think he's a generational talent. I'm sorry. I ain't saying Mel Kiper, not Mel Kiper, but what's my guy? Used to play Merrill Hodge. I ain't saying he's the guru, and he do make a lot of mistakes. But daggone it, I like Merrill Hodge. And when I was listening to him, and he said, "I do not see generational." He said, "I absolutely do not see generational." And he said, "Stop comparing him to Pat Mahomes. Do not do that." And I feel him. I mean, I feel like Caleb Williams, that moxie, hey, that's great. We see he's an emotional guy. We definitely know that. He's a little different. We know that, but that's cool. Nobody's tripping on that. But he's got weapons. We talked about the weapons he has on the team. They got a young offensive line. The coach over there, this is his make or break season, right? So he's really got to ride this Caleb Williams thing. So really, we'll see. He's coming in with talent, and that's really going to help a young quarterback. He's not coming there with no talent. So we'll see what he does. I don't see the generational talent they're talking about. I think trying to do too many broken plays and always try to look for the big play, and that's not going to work in the NFL. You got to be able to be accurate in the NFL. You got to have timing. You got to be accurate. That's scrambling around and running around trying to make plays all day. You're going to get sacked and you're going to get hurt. So we'll see with that. Anthony Richardson, his quarterback shortened season with the Indianapolis Colts. But I like Richardson, right? Um, Dual threat, uh, nice size, 6'4", good arm. Um, threw a nice little bit of yards early. I think he's got to continue to get stronger and get bigger because he has the type of frame that he was kind of slim. But I like him at Indianapolis, and I think that dual threat that Indianapolis they kind of need that. I like that kind of over there, so I think that was a really good pick. I don't think he was ready his rookie year, so maybe him be able to sit and watch the NFL. You guys, I think maybe that was going to be good for him. But I like Anthony Richardson. I think he has some talent, and I think he's going to maybe help Indianapolis continue to build, like you said, Joe, build around your quarterback. I think if they build around Anthony Richardson, they're going to have a team. Go ahead.
It's funny, James, because I think looking at your list, you kind of had the rookies kind of going later on in your picks, and I see the rationale behind it. I'm sky high on Anthony Richardson, man. I think he's like top 12, top 13 quarterback. I think he's going to have a blowout year this year, man. To me, he's like Cam Newton Jr. I love that size. I think he was raw coming out his first year out of college. I do think sitting out, kind of watching for a year is going to help him out a great deal. He had 7 touchdowns in his first 4 games. He was just trying to figure it out. He just was using his athleticism. So I'm real high on Anthony Richardson. I think he's going to be, I like we're talking about at the top of the show. I love this whole arms race in the NFL. Like Anthony Richardson, Trevor Lawrence, the quarterbacks are young, it's up and coming. All these Bryce Young. We have no idea where these quarterbacks are going to go, but I love it because if all these quarterbacks are good, it's just better football for us to watch. So I'm all into it, man. But I'm high on Anthony Richardson for real.
Yeah, I mean, I totally agree with you. But I still need to see it. You know what I'm saying? I think that's why I have all the rookies kind of lumped all kind of together, and maybe the first year, second year playing Will Levis. I think I got them all kind of because I got that trajectory. But the other guys I got above them kind of been there and kind of done it.
Hmm.
So I'm gonna kind of give them that edge. So that's maybe the poison where I was talking about. Are we just talking about last year? Or are we talking about trajectory? And that's where the trajectory comes in with that. But I like all those rookies, and I think all those rookies that I named, the Drake May. I think JJ McCarthy. We'll see. I don't know about Bo Nix, but I do like Drake May. I like Jaden Daniels. I like Caleb Williams. I like Anthony Richardson. I like Will Levis. You know what I'm saying? I like these young crop of guys that's coming into these last couple of years. So I
Hmm.
hope they really kind of step in because I like these guys to be maybe like the new wave of quarterbacks that we're going to see in the future. I like the trajectory, so I like the way they're coming up. And definitely Anthony Richardson, because I feel like if they continue to build a team around him, they're going to be a good team year in and year out with him. And then Deshaun Watson, everybody's down on Watson, right? Everybody, he was the who's who and the what's what until all that controversy happened with him. We ain't going to talk about that because we already know about all that. And it's just been ever since he's got that guaranteed contract in Cleveland, he's absolutely done nothing. But we can look at that he had a 5-1 record in them 6 games he played. I think the biggest thing is he's been injury prone like no other now, right? He's
Hmm.
barely finishing seasons, but he still was 5-1, still has 7 touchdowns, still 4 interceptions. But I feel like he's still 28 years old, y'all, and maybe maybe he sees it this year, right? Maybe it's not like he don't have the talent. He was one of the guys that you were going to say he was going to be one of the next great quarterbacks in the league until that controversy. So I'm gonna give him the benefit of doubt, and I'm gonna put him at 22. I think that's good for him. Russell Wilson, over there at Pittsburgh now. He's going to be fighting with Justin Fields. Um, I like Russell Wilson. I don't know, but I like Russell Wilson. Everybody get on him. You know how he fake and all that other stuff. But man, 26 touchdowns, 8 interceptions. That ain't a bad year, y'all.
Hmm.
3,000 yards, 66 completions. You know what I'm saying? Yes, he had. Look who he was fighting with. I don't like Sean Payton, y'all. Well, look who he was fighting with as a coach, and he still had to go through that. And then you seen with Sean Payton. Sean Payton rather just pay crazy money for the organization than deal with him. So
Mhm.
that's kind of the
Hmm.
flack that he's dealing with. But Mike Tomlin just got a new deal. I like how Mike Tomlin rolls, and I think Mike Tomlin can work with him. And I think Mike Tomlin can get that. He can get in Russell Wilson's head. They say Russell Wilson's kind of weird, but I think he can get in his head and he can have him play some pretty decent football. We'll see. Justin Fields is lurking in there, so maybe I should put a slash on there because we've seen what Justin Fields can do, throwing the ball and running the ball, and I think basically he's going to take over. Maybe he might take over during the year, but I can still put them both in that 21 range. And then Derek Carr went over to New Orleans, got the big deal. Another numbers guy. I don't think he's a guy that's really ever going to take you over the top, y'all. But I think he's a numbers guy, right? He's always going to get you a whole lot of numbers because he has the athletic ability, he has the big arm. He's going to win you some games. But as far as those big games, he ain't going to do it, in my opinion. He's
Yeah.
he's
Hmm.
like he's like the in my day. He's the Jeff George of back in the day. We had a guy named Jeff George back in my day. He was a top pick, I think, number overall pick, and always had the big arm, always had supreme talent, but he could never win.
It's a
And I feel
hothead.
like hothead, and I just feel, and Derek Carr maybe is the opposite because they call him the crybaby.
Exactly.
So I just feel like he's always going to get a lot of numbers for you, but he ain't going to get a lot of wins, and he's not going to get the big wins. So that's kind of my list right there. I think it's a pretty decent list. Y'all tell me what y'all think.
Yeah, let us know in the comments how y'all feeling about the list. I think our lists are pretty similar, but they obviously have differences. But the big differences I think are the rookies, where we have the rookies,
Hmm.
and the second year players, I guess as well. But it's pretty similar. I mean, I'm digging it. I'm digging it. Is there anything you want to say about it, George?
No, same thing. I think we're all kind of got that same little bottom third of the league. Quarterbacks all kind of mixed together. It's just how we view the quarterbacks. It's also kind of how we view the bounce back. Like I think I have Bryce Young a little bit lower on my list. I don't want to reveal all my lists right now. I think I got Russell Wilson a little bit higher up. Like, actually, I like Russell Wilson. I think is a hard worker. I think he's a smart player, and he just needs the right kind of coach. And Mike Tomlin, for my money, is one of the best coaches in the league. Man, he's a motivator. He's a leader of men. I think he can maximize Russell Wilson for sure. So I think he'll move up a little bit too. But no, I agree with you. I think it's pretty spot on for me.
Yeah, I think the Russell Wilson conversation is something a lot of people don't want to have because they don't, like you kind of said, don't like him maybe personally. But he did have a good year last year. Didn't they beat Kansas City for like the first time in like ever for them? I guess he did some things for them. So yeah, I'm excited to see what they do next year, especially like you said, under a new coach who knows how to coach. And Derek Carr is another guy I feel like goes under the radar a lot. I feel like if you switch him with Kirk Cousins, like their offenses, you're not losing anything. I feel like it's the exact same thing, to be honest.
He's a facilitator, right? He'll protect the ball. He'll get you some points. He'll run the offense effectively, but he's not going to take you over the top. I agree with that.
Yeah, definitely. So we're going to keep you talking next, George.
Let's do it.
And we're going to move on to your list because I know you said you were afraid of revealing it all. So we might as well reveal it all now, right? Shout out to everybody. And I'm sorry to cut you off, but shout out to everybody in the chat, man. We got over 180 people in the chat. Be sure to hit that like, hit that subscribe wherever you are. If you're not watching on YouTube, definitely going over to the YouTube, join the conversation. But yeah, George, talk to us, man. Talk to us. You already took a shot at Aiden O'Connell. So
I did. I feel bad for the O'Connell family. Sorry about that O'Connell family. But anyways, this is my bottom 12 right here. And thank you for everyone in the chat. My list is pretty similar to James's, man. Like, so I'm gonna start off with O'Connell. I think he's going to take over the Raiders position. Like everything I'm hearing so far, like I think Gardner Minshew is also, he could easily take the position as well. But everything I'm hearing is Aiden O'Connell showed enough at the end of last season. He's going to walk into this season as a starting quarterback. The Raiders, man, it's sad because I like Antonio Pierce. I want them to be a good team. I think the league's better when the Raiders are actually a good team as well. They got Devontae Adams at the twilight of his career. I want to see him thrive. But I just don't know if they have the talent for it, man. Like, they have Devontae Adams. They got Brock Bowers now, Michael Mayer. Who's their running back? Samir White, I believe, is their running back. Like, I just don't – it's a defensive-minded team with Antonio Pierce. I'm curious how far he's going to take it. I don't know if he has the talent to go for it. I just think the Raiders they're kind of running on emotion right now because Antonio Pierce is fiery like that. I just don't know if they have the talent to go further. So I kind of have Aiden O'Connell on the bottom. Given Bo Nix, I wasn't a Bo Nix guy coming out of college either. Like, I think a lot of his yards, if you actually watched Oregon last year, a lot of his yards came from like screens and bubbles, like short passes and kind of being more distributor. Like the Oregon offense realized they didn't really have a super strong arm. So he's more of like a point guard type of quarterback. So he racked up a lot of stats because Oregon's like a track team, but it wasn't really him like dominating, right? So I don't really see him. Like, I think the Broncos were desperate. I don't think they had a second round pick, so they had to reach for a quarterback and took Bo Nix, but I don't think he really was truly a first round quarterback. I feel like it's unfortunate because there's nothing wrong with him, but it's a circumstance, right? Being thrown in and having to be the leader of this team and you're kind of not ready for it. And Sean Payton, as James alluded to, it's kind of a jerk too. It's kind of a bad mix. I just kind of see it not going out too well. Bryce Young, coming out of Alabama, his whole MO was he's creative. He can kind of, he can improvise. He can kind of work off a script. That's great. But I think, as James kind of alluded to, the offensive line of Carolina is not strong. They don't really have any strong weapons as well. They have Adam Thielen, who's in his late 30s. They have Xavier Legette, who I love, has the best accent in the NFL. I love Xavier Legette. I think it's hilarious. Right. But I just don't know if he's ready to take over a team yet. And their running back is Chuba Hubbard and Jonathan Brooks. So it's like he's not surrounded with talent. It's a really poor circumstance as well. He's a smaller player. I just don't see it going too well. And, there wasn't even a glimmer last year. There were games where Bryce Young didn't even throw a touchdown last year. And that's tough, man. Like in the NFL, where the offense rules supreme and you can't score a touchdown as a quarterback, that's scary to me. So I'm kind of worried about that. So, he has to show me a lot to bounce back and have some confidence in him. Brissett.
Yeah, they got Booby over there. They got Miles Sanders over there too as a running back. So
they do. Yeah, their running backs are actually probably the strength of their team. To be honest with you, they're gonna have some depth there. But we'll see if Bryce Young can make put some passing stats up. I'm not sure about that. We'll see. Jacoby Brissett, man, I actually like him. He was in Washington last year. He's a good leader. He actually was a good mentor to Sam Howell. Watching it firsthand, Sam Howell struggled with holding on to the ball too long and taking a lot of sacks. But Jacoby Brissett came in late in the year. came off the bench, was like throwing darts, throwing touchdowns, and everyone was like, damn, should he be starting over Howell? It kind of got to that point. So I think Brissett's in a great position over there in New England because I don't think Drake May is ready. So I think he'll walk out. He'll be the quarterback one for the first couple of weeks, maybe the first 4 weeks. We'll see how long it goes. If I remember correctly, I don't have it in front of me. The Patriots, first 5, 6, 7 games are hard too. It's like if Drake May rolled out, they'd be 0-7. It's like the Bills and the Dolphins. It's really strong to start off the year. So I think they're going to start off with Jacoby Brissett, and I think he'll do fine. But he's not a elevator. He's just kind of he's exactly what he is. He's a high end backup. So I can see that. Sam Darnold, we'll see, man. JJ McCarthy, if he comes in, he'll be interesting. But I think Sam Darnold will come out. Kevin O'Connell's a good offensive mind. They got Jettas, one of the best wide receivers in the league to throw to. They got Josh Jacobs as a running back now. The Vikings is a pretty insulated, pretty good offense to jump into, and Sam Darnold's a good quarterback. And realistically, I probably should move him up further, but he just hasn't done it over 10 games. So I don't really know what his body of work is. So that's kind of why I have some concerns with Sam Darnold there. Daniel Jones, we talked about it. Daniel Jones is he's an enigma. He stinks against 30 teams in the NFL. Then he plays and he's the freaking Mike Vick. So I don't know what's going on with him. But I just think that I just don't see the long-term potential for him. I just think he's not a great passer. He's an athletic quarterback, but he's not a great passer. They have bad weapons in New York as well. Malik Neighbors, though, we straight up, this is the Best of Enemies podcast. He's good, man. Malik Neighbors probably, he's head to head with Marvin Harrison Jr. is one of the best rookie wide receivers in the class. So I'm looking forward to watching Malik Neighbors, but I feel like he might be wasted with Daniel Jones at quarterback. So that'll be interesting to watch there. The Titans are interesting. A lot of people are kind of looking at them as the dark horse in the AFC South. They got Tony Pollard. I don't know how the Cowboy fans feel about him. They got Tajay Spears as well. And basically Will Levis, man, he's a pretty thick dude, man. He's a scrambling quarterback. He can generate offense. It'll be interesting to watch him. I'm kind of interested to see how he goes there. James, what do you say about Pollard? You said bad about him? What were we saying? I missed that.
What'd you say? Say that again.
What'd you say about Pollard? You don't like him?
Yeah, I like Tony Pollard. I think the problem is that they're pushing him out the role that he was in before. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They should have left it alone with Ezekiel Elliott. They try to bring him back now this year, and I'm like, why'd you cut him? Make no daggone sense. You had the good hard running, charge run, guy that could really soften up that defense and a guy who could really explode afterwards. So that's what they should have kept it. They put him at the number one guy. We all kind of felt like he's going to struggle because he's not that 20 carry guy. He's that guy that, he's a change-up guy. He's a guy you can throw the ball out the backfield. And if you got another running back, as you just mentioned, the guy, Tajay Spears, that's great. That's what you want to have. Tony Pollard is not the main guy. When you got another good running back with him, that's when he's effective. And hey, let me give a big shout out.
I was just about to say, well, we got you.
got a big $49.99 holler. Hope you do well. Need your eyes to give out the outlook of things. Definitely appreciate you, Steve. Shout out to the $49.99 to $50 holler. Hey ho! So $50 holla. Appreciate you.
Yeah, so going back to the Titans, though, I think they're going to be a fun team to watch. People kind of are sleeping on them a little bit. Will Levis has a good situation. Tony Pollard, Tajay Spears, they kind of play the same, but I agree with you. I think Tony Pollard is a good change of pace type of back, not a 20 carry kind of guy, 10, 15 kind of carry guy. So I think he'll do well there. DeAndre Hopkins, Calvin Ridley, Tyler Boyd, Okonkwo is a tight end. They have some pretty good offensive talent in Tennessee, so we'll see how that goes, and maybe Will Levis can turn it around.
I like Ridley over there. I like to see how that goes with Ridley over there. And like I said, Will Levis, he reminds me of Josh Allen so much because, like I said, he's a big guy. He's like 6'3", but he's a big, thick quarterback, big arm. I just feel like he's going to get you those 400-yard games, but he might get you those 3 interceptions along in that 400-yard game, or he don't. Go ahead.
No, I was like, he's interested. I don't know if you guys are really into big in fantasy, but we do a lot of fantasy on my other show too. Will Levis is kind of a sleeper. If you want to get him late in the draft, kind of like a dart through high end. I don't know if you guys know what best ball fantasy football is. He's a good player in that regard because he can basically kind of blow up with some rushing touchdowns and stuff too. I think he's interesting, and Tennessee will be fun to watch this year. It'd be cool.
Yep.
I hate Will Levis. but we'll get to that.
You said you hate Will Levis? The thing that's nasty about him is that coffee and the mayonnaise. I don't know if you guys know what I'm talking about, but he drinks coffee and it's nasty. So I lose respect for him because of that. That's about it.
Yeah, I'll get into the reason why I hate him
when you're up.
Yeah.
All right, cool. Sounds good. All right, we'll jump up to the next one. Deshaun Watson, man. I'm losing faith in him, man. I think he's kind of on the ropes for me. Like if he has a bad year this year, then I'm done, man. I think they gave him that mega contract. I think the Browns are regretting that right now. The Browns basically have such a ready-built team, and their defense is dominant, like bullying defense, and they have a great rushing attack. Nick Chubb, for my money, when he's healthy, is the best running back in the entire league. And, Nick Chubb with that awesome defense, with some good offensive weapons, they can win despite the quarterback. But Deshaun Watson, man, always get in trouble, as we saw, getting injured now. He's not putting up big numbers either. So, I'm kind of worried about him. I think the Browns would best be served to get out of that contract and get a rookie instead, or whatever. We'll see what happens. Maybe a free agent springs loose in a year or two, and they pick him up instead. So we'll see. So Deshaun Watson's kind of on my out. That's why he's 25 for me. Derek Carr, we talked about it. Great human being, but he's a definition of mid. He's a definition of mid. He basically is out there. He'll play average. He'll put up 2 touchdowns, 1 interception, give you 25 touchdowns per game. It's solid, but he's not gonna take you over the top. And the Saints, it's so funny because all of us, we're about the same age. For years, the Saints with Drew Brees and Michael Thomas and Alvin Kamara and Marcus Colston, they were such a team on the rise, such an offensive powerhouse. It's so much fun to watch. I feel like the Saints are kind of going downhill. In the South, right. It's we have the Falcons are going to be really intriguing this year. The Buccaneers looking pretty good with Baker Mayfield. It's the Saints aren't intriguing to me. If they're on TV, I wouldn't be excited to watch them. Derek Carr is a large reason why. He doesn't thrill me by any means.
Yeah, no, yeah.
You feel me on that? Yeah, so that's where I'm at.
At least they used to have a defense, right? They used to have that nasty defense, and then I don't know. I think Jalen Hurts took the soul out of them. That year that they had that nasty defense but kept getting injured at quarterback.
Yeah.
We just say I'm gonna give it to Jalen Hurts and say
I don't know. I feel like with the Saints, they really thrived off that Drew Brees, Sean Payton connection.
Absolutely.
And that really drove New Orleans. And now they have no identity any longer. We knew their identity was Sean Payton and Drew Brees. They were going to throw the ball. They were going to air it out. It was going to be exciting football. You knew it was going to be 30 points in the game because of what that offense was going to bring. And then you heard, and then they had the bounty. This was a lot of intrigue going on with that time. And once that kind of left, it took everything to me out of the New Orleans soul right now. And they don't have an identity any longer right now. And just like George said, they're just boring. Nobody wants to talk about the Saints. Nobody even wants to watch their games. Nobody cares about them. They're not exciting. That's the truth.
Yeah, it's tough. It's got New Orleans is one of my favorite American cities. I love going down there. I want that team to be good, but they're not looking good this year to me, right? So Russell Wilson, we kind of talked about it. Maybe I should have put him a little bit higher. Russell Wilson, there was a point, man, when Russell Wilson was one of the most dominant quarterbacks in the league, one of my favorite quarterbacks to watch in the league. Prime Russell Wilson on Seattle was awesome to watch. He's been through a lot, on and off the field. I think he kind of got done dirty last year with Sean Payton. I don't know if you guys remember, but they're talking about benching him and you should sit or renege your contract so we basically don't have to pay you if you get injured and all that stuff. And I think I'm rooting for him. I think Russell Wilson will do well. George Pickens, Roman Wilson, they just got him in the draft as well. Najee Harris is still a good running back. Mike Tomlin's one of my favorite coaches in the league. I think they'll be all right. I think Russell Wilson's going to be there too. I don't think Justin Fields is going to overtake him. I could be wrong. Maybe an injury happens there, but I think Russell Wilson's going to come in with this, I'm a starter. This is my team. I don't think he's going to give it up. So that's kind of my mentality on that. Geno, I like Geno. Maybe it's funny because Geno wasn't on your bottom 12. He must be a little bit higher for you, James. And Geno, I like him. He had a bounce back year. I'm from the DMV, DC, Maryland, Virginia. He went to West Virginia, so I saw him for years growing up. He's kind of been an off and on kind of quarterback throughout his career. He had that big blowout year, I think 2 years ago now, with 30 touchdowns. And but he's kind of going back down to earth. I think the Seahawks are kind of getting level now. I think he had 25. He put up Derek Carr numbers last year. And now they got Mike McDonald, who's the Seattle coach there from Baltimore. It's going to be a defensive-minded team. I'm kind of curious how much he'll actually be dominant? Are they going to kind of run through Kenneth Walker, K9? Are they going to run through Zach Charbonnet as their running back as well? He has great weapons, though. DK Metcalf, Tyler Lockett, Jackson Smith and Jigba. They have some good people on offense, so maybe he'll bounce back. But, I kind of have a lower. I don't see him. He doesn't have the upside as number 20 and 21 for me. This is where it's at. So, like, these two rookies, right? So Caleb Williams and Jaden Daniels, it's interesting. Caleb Williams walks into a better situation, to be honest, right? They walk in DeAndre Swift. They walk in with I think Khalil Herbert. They have another good running back behind DeAndre Swift. Then they also have Roma Dunze, DJ Moore, Keenan Allen, Cole Kmet as a tight end. He's insulated very, very well. But Caleb Williams, the reason why I take Jaden Daniels over Caleb Williams is Jaden Daniels is ascending and Caleb Williams was descending coming out of college. And I'm going to take the hot ticket right now. Like, Jaden Daniels is more athletic. I think he's going to be more of a scrambler than Caleb Williams. As James kind of alluded to, Caleb kind of bought time in college. And, like, there were times where he had 4 or 5 seconds kind of behind the line of scrimmage. And you can't do that in the NFL. Like, the stat is 2.5 seconds in the NFL. You have to get rid of the ball quick. So is he going to adjust to having being working in sequence? And, for all the knock on Jaden Daniels, the knock on Jaden Daniels was he's small, which he is. He's still small. But the knock on Jaden Daniels is his wide receivers were too good in college. You're saying, Brian Thomas, Malik Neighbors, he had awesome wide receivers. But through that, he learned to work in the system. He learned how to get rid of the ball quick and distribute that. So if they do that, where it is kind of he's a point guard, he's throwing the ball, and then when it breaks down, he can take off. I like that. So I'm buying that ticket on Jaden Daniels. So even though Caleb Williams is the number 1 pick, I think Jaden Daniels is going to have a better year. So we'll see how that goes.
I'm sure there was no bias in that.
Right? I was thinking top 5, top 10 for Daniels, but I was trying to be modest, a little bit, So
no, I respect that. I mean, you explained it well, and that's the real fight. It doesn't matter what you say. You can say anything as long as you explain it well.
Yeah,
I like that. I like the list. Like you said, you kind of went higher on the upside. I like it. I respect it. How you feeling about it, James?
You know what? I don't mind this list at all. I do think there's some biasness at number 20 for Jaden Daniels. I definitely feel that. But I think it's pretty good when you look at it through and through. It's a good ranking. I had Geno Smith just a tiny bit higher, just only like a few spots, so it ain't crazy. Because I just feel like he may came back down to earth, but I think he was still better. And he wasn't terrible when they tried to give him a chance when he was at New York.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why I feel like, I'm going to still give him another chance because he has some talent. He has the arm. And, he kind of kicked our butts when we played him.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to be a fun year. I like this. This is going to be a fun year. So
it is.
We'll get into my list now. That's the benefit of being the guy that clicks the buttons. I get to choose. Shout out to everybody still in the chat, man. We got 200 people. We've had anywhere between like 180 and 200 people throughout the show. So thank you so much, guys. Be sure to hit that like, share, subscribe, whatever you kiddos do nowadays. But yeah, so let's do this. So I got Jacoby Brissett at 32. You got to watch him more. Let me preemptively say this. I went into this looking at your situation. You know what I'm saying? And my opinion, he's not walking into a good situation.
Not at all. Not at all.
In my opinion, I try to weigh out what the player's done and what they're going to do. So in my opinion, you're really not going to do much with this team. They're just not good. You don't have wide receivers. I can't, off the top of my head, name you their weapons, if I'm being 100% honest with you. So I'm not going to, I don't think Jacoby Brissett is going to do well this year, but I do think that he is a decent player. I think that he's played good football. Same can be said about a Sam Bradford. Only reason I put him so low, and I know it kind of contradicts what I said with Jacoby Brissett, because Sam Bradford walking into a pretty darn good situation. I don't think he's good. I really don't think he's good. I think that under the bright lights, under pressure, he folds, and he's going to be under a lot of pressure. You got a wide receiver that wants to get the ball, that, getting big money. You got an offense that can do some things, that should be able to do some things. You're coming in after a guy that, made damn near history with his wide receiver, if not a little bit of history. I don't know exactly, but I know that they were on pace to do some crazy things. So there's going to be a lot of pressure on him. So I don't think that he's going to really shine, and I don't even know if he's going to start. So I put him, next to last. Daniel Jones could have been, he could have been last if I'm being honest with you. I did say before, I did have like a little glimmer of, I don't want to say hope because I'm not a Giants fan, but there was a moment that I was like, maybe this kid could be something, but he just relies way too much on everything else going right. And the one thing I will say in his defense is he has not had a great or even really good offensive line most of his career. He hasn't had really good weapons, right? You have Darren Waller wrapping more than he's catching. So, I mean, it's not like you, and then who was the wide receiver?
He retired, didn't he?
He retired.
Yeah, he just retired. But you had that. Who was the wide receiver they just picked up? Gave him big money. Didn't even do anything. What's his name?
Galladay.
Galladay.
Galladay. Yeah.
You do nothing with him. So I just have no faith in him. I don't think that there's anything around him really that got better outside of Neighbors. So he has a shot. Hey, we've seen it. We've seen it with Jalen Hurts, specifically. We've seen it with Dak Prescott. You give them weapons and they get better. You know what I'm saying? Not as dramatic as it would have to be for Daniel Jones, but still, he has that opportunity. Bo Nix, where did Bo Nix go again?
Oregon.
Denver.
NFL.
Denver.
Okay, yeah. I don't know why that's the one. Bo Nix, honestly, I see a lot of, and this I gotta he's not Drew Brees, right? But a lot of the things that he does well are what Drew Brees did well. You know what I'm saying? And especially in the Sean Payton system, I could see him fitting what he wants to do. Again, I don't think that the talent is all the way there. He's been in college for like 20 years, it feels like, but he's a smart quarterback. He's an accurate quarterback. He's going to run your system. So, at 29, he could look a lot better than he actually is, just because I do see how he fits that system in certain ways. Deshaun Watson, I think it was you, George, that kind of alluded to it, that, he's this is kind of it, right? Like, I feel like he's got maybe another season or two. If you don't do anything, maybe even just this season. I was looking at their backups, and they got Jameis Winston over there. They got Tyler Huntley.
Yeah,
like you said, man, this is a good roster. It's a good roster. So I wouldn't be surprised, like you said, if they say, hey, it's time for us to, figure out what Jameis can do for a couple games. Let's see what Tyler Huntley can do for a couple games, who's played well behind, a Lamar Jackson when he's had to go in.
Yeah.
So you never know. But, yeah, I just don't believe in Deshaun Watson. I feel like he's at the very, very least, or very best, I should say, he's riding a coattail of that great defense and good running game. So I don't think he's given them anything. So, yeah, I got him there.
Let me throw this out there real quick. Would you even start Jameis Winston over Deshaun Watson right now?
Yeah. I wouldn't right now.
Okay.
Because I feel like you still paid that money to him.
Yeah.
You still, like I said, his record was 5-1 when he did play. And we know that, he hasn't played the numbers. He hasn't looked the same. But I think we're all in agreement. I really believe this is your last year and this is your last chance.
Yeah.
If you don't do it this year, this is what I can see. Him bouncing back, playing good football, him being the guy, or him getting benched, Winston being the quarterback, and them drafting the top pick next year, and they possibly cutting him and eating up that salary.
And the question really becomes like, what is good football to this organization? And if you look at Deshaun Watson, if you're not giving up the ball, that might be good enough for them. Right? Like, you have a really good defense, you have a good run game, just live off that. If you look at Jameis Winston, Mr. 30 for 30, he's pretty, wild with that ball and sometimes wild with decisions. So I could see both. But I do think that we're all at the same point that this is it for him. You gotta figure it out. And at least I don't even know how he lives
I think it's just too much, dog. I don't know about y'all. And I think y'all all feel the same the way I do. We don't want to say it's over. We don't want to say it because we don't know, right?
Yeah.
We do not know. But don't we all have the feeling like it's over, dog? Like,
I feel like he's on his. That's how
you know what I'm saying. I
just
feel like it's over. I just feel like that time was there, and what happened was just too much. I don't know.
It's success is fleeting, and I think he lost it. He had it in his hands and he lost it,
Yeah,
unfortunately. We'll see.
I just feel like that's over now.
And then on top of that, like, we don't know what's going to happen with Nick Chubb. I don't know if you guys remember. We know he's coming off an injury, but I don't know if you guys actually saw it live. It was a nasty, nasty injury. And I love Nick Chubb too, so it was hard seeing that. We'll see when he comes back. I think he got hurt in November or December, so maybe he'll be back by the beginning of the season. But it was one of those like Willis McGahee where the knee was going the opposite direction, multiple ligaments. So it's pretty bad for him. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah. Anyway, I guess let's just move on. It's getting uncomfortable. It's getting hot. We're trying to stay monetized but not. The next, I got Gardner Minshew. Honestly, he probably could have been a little bit higher. He has. I was really, really high on Gardner Minshew when the Eagles got him, just because he's played a lot of football. He's won a lot of games. And you look at that Jaguars team that he played with when he came out. I think he was undrafted or a 7th-round pick, something like that. He played well. I mean, I think I lived in Jacksonville at the time. He was fun to watch. He wasn't the strongest arm. Exactly. Yeah, he was a gamer, man. So I could probably put him higher, maybe above Bryce Young if I went back. But I do like him. We'll see what he does. He kind of got me pissed off last year because he lost to the Cowboys, and I think he lost to the Saints as well. So, not last year, but the year before that, I should say. But he pissed me off a little bit there. But outside of that, he is a good quarterback.
He's a good bridge. He's a good bridge.
He's a good bridge.
He's a good bridge. If you want to, you're thinking about drafting a quarterback and you need a guy right now, he's the guy. I like him to be that guy. And then once you have your number one guy take over, I like him to be my backup.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I will go as far as saying this. I would have loved to see what Doug Peterson would have done with Gardner Minshew instead of Trevor Lawrence. I understand, all the hype behind Trevor Lawrence when he came out and all that, but I think that Gardner Minshew would have won them some games that Trevor Lawrence didn't. I'll put it that way.
Yeah, but Gardner Minshew is a career backup. We know that. We know by looking at him and watching his game, he is a career backup. He's like a Sam Howell. After we've seen Sam Howell, we know Sam Howell's a backup now, in my opinion.
Yeah, I agree. But, I think Gardner. Yeah, sorry to interrupt. Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was gonna say he's just like that Sam Howell, Taylor Heineke. If you guys remember him, it's kind of like he punches above his weight, right? He's a guy that he plays hard, he makes plays happen, he fires his teams up, he plays off emotion, but he's limited physically, right? He's not big enough. He doesn't have the big arm. He can't really. He can't really do it over 17 games. He can do it for 4 or 5, but he can't do it for the entire season. That's kind of where Gardner mentions that.
Doug Flutie. Yeah, that's what he looks like.
Doug Flutie-ish. Yep.
All right. So then I got Bryce Young. Bryce Young, I think, was just in a terrible position. I don't even feel like it was a lack of talent. Like, that offensive line wasn't good, but they had some players. They had some decent players out there. So I don't know. I think that he's a good quarterback. Maybe more that I think about it, he probably should be below Gardner Minshew, in my opinion. I don't think much below that, but he is that. I mean, that's the bottom, like 6 or 7. So it's not like I have him in my top 10. So, I like Bryce. I do think that there's upside there. I just think he was in a terrible
What upside do you think is there, though?
I think that you have to build the offense around him. I think that far too often you get these young kids and you think that you can just like what CJ Stroud did is because CJ Stroud is different. You know what I'm saying? What Anthony Richardson can do is because they're building an offense around him.
Not just that, in my opinion. I feel like they're physically the tools. Look at CJ Stroud. That's a big dude. That's not a little guy. Anthony Richardson, that's a big dude. Those are big quarterbacks. I mean, I think the biggest thing that hurts Bryce Young is he's really small. He's like 5'10". They say 204, but if you're playing in the season, you're probably losing weight and you ain't keeping up that weight. You're probably under 200.
180.
You know what I mean? You're probably under that. And I think that's his biggest issue. And when you're talking about building the offense around him, that's my only worry. Like, what kind of offense is going to have to be like a timing type offense because he's so small. You got to have the right type of offense. And he got overdrafted, in my opinion, as number 1. He could have been maybe like a 4th rounder or something like that. Like, for real, like he really got to show because he could be a huge bust.
It's messy over there too. Coming from a Commanders fan, coming from the Dan Snyder era, like Tepper, man, he's a mess at ownership. Like he's gonna probably fire. Like Dave Canales is supposed to be a coaching whisperer, like coming in from Tampa Bay. He might actually be something, but like I'm sure he has a short leash as well. Like it's a lot of turmoil, not a lot of consistency. It's a bad situation for Bryce Young. Like I wouldn't like. He's likely going to be a bust in my opinion, which stinks. You know, I don't like rooting for that, but I think it's going to happen because it's such a bad situation for him.
Yeah, that's kind of where I'm at. I'm kind of like he isn't bad in my opinion. Was he overdrafted? Yes. I don't know. It's hard for me to just say he's the worst quarterback in the league just because of that situation. You barely used Miles Sanders. If I feel like they never even used him. You didn't put him in good positions. That offensive line wasn't really good. It was just like you said, it was a mess over there. It still is a mess over there. So we'll see what happens. Next, I got Geno Smith, which you could make an argument he could probably go a little bit higher. I think it was you that brought it up first, James. Like, there's some guys that just have those, 1 years that you're just like, wow, they go off the charts, and it's like, oh, I didn't know they had it in it. I don't know if Geno's that guy. You know what I'm saying? He had an amazing year last year. I don't know if he's going to do that again. I don't know if the Seahawks really got that much better. I don't, and where's his ceiling? Like how much better is he going to get over his career? So I think that 25 is fair. I think maybe he goes up a little bit over the season if he has another good one, but I think 25 is fair. And then at 24, I got your boy Jalen Daniels. I do like him. I think that it's going to be really, really interesting because, again, you look at the situation, that offensive line, you correct me if I'm wrong. I don't think it's one of the better ones. It could be. No. Is it?
Yeah, that's our flaw. That's our like. Yeah. If anything, the flaw is our offensive line. Like our tackles are pretty bad. We have a good Sam Cosby's our right guard, pretty solid. We got Badass or Badass, whatever you want to call him, for as a center from Dallas. We got him over there, and we got Wiley from Kansas City as our right tackle. But like that is the concern. Like, is our offensive line going to hold up? And we'll see what happens. Like, I think we're going to do a lot. I think they haven't said it yet, but I wouldn't be surprised if they do RPOs a lot in Washington. It's kind of like get the offensive line to kind of hesitate a little bit, just to kind of like threaten with Jaden Daniels' legs. So we'll see how that goes. But that's definitely a question mark for sure.
Yeah, and I mean, the one thing I do say about Washington is I think that they'll give him chances because I think that defense is kind of slept on. That just like from an outsider's point of view, like, y'all have a lot of big athletic people. On that defense. So I think that they'll be able to make something happen, especially with the new coach and everything. So I think he'll be able to make mistakes. You know what I'm saying? In some situations, you can't really make mistakes. You get screwed if you make mistakes. But I think that he'll be able to make mistakes and grow as a quarterback. So we'll see what happens. Kyler Murray, I'm not really as high on Kyler Murray as some people are. Obviously not too low on him, I guess. But I don't think he's that good, if I'm being honest with you. I can't – there's been plays that I'm like, wow, that's crazy. But it's usually with his legs. I don't know. I don't think he's that good. I think you guys had him higher than me, if I'm not mistaken. Do you guys have him higher?
I have him a little bit higher.
What am I missing?
Well, because you know what I'm going to say – because, these small guys, he's little, right? And he's still been able to be effective in the league. And I think maybe that's what I look at with him. And he's won games. He's put up numbers. It's not like he hasn't put up numbers. I think that's what I give him the benefit of the doubt with that size. I'm like, man, he can have games where he can beat a top team. He can beat, if he's going against a number one team, he can beat them. He can go in there and scramble and throw a 400-yard game, scramble for 120 yards and get 3 touchdowns. You know what I mean? And I think that's the dynamic. And so I think that's why I kind of lean to and plus he's done in the league, and maybe that's my poison. So I think that's why I put him up a little bit higher maybe than yourself. I don't think he's no all-world guy. Don't get that mistaken.
I'm right there with you, though, James. You don't have to pull it back a little. You don't have to pull it back too much. I'm right there with you. I think he's done it in the league. There was a point where it might have been like 2019, 2020, 3 or 4 years ago. The Cardinals started off like 7-0 or 7-2 or something like that, and he was talked about as the MVP of the league. Like he's pretty damn talented. Like a lot of people forget he tore his ACL. He missed most of last season. He came back with like 7 games left at the end of the year. And I think he ended up with 13 total touchdowns, 10 passing touchdowns, 3 rushing touchdowns in 7 games. And that's coming off of ACL. So, like, like James is saying, he's done it in the league. Even though he is undersized, he knows how to compensate for it. I like the Marvin Harrison Jr. addition right there. He's interesting, and he's a fun player to root for, and I kind of like rooting for him. Like we talked about at the beginning of the show, like the arms race in the NFL. These young, awesome quarterbacks. He's still 26 years old, believe it or not, guys. Only 26, so like he still has some upside. So like I don't have him too much higher. I think I'm in the teens, but like I don't think he's 23. I think he's way better. I think he's way better than a Bryce Young, Geno Smith, Gardner Minshew. But there's only 32 positions in the league, so you have to put him somewhere. But I got some upside for Murray.
I respect that. Yeah, we'll see. Kyler Murray, you know what I'm saying? If for some reason you're watching this, you know what I'm saying, you can prove me wrong. I'll shut up.
Stop playing Call of Duty, man. Get in the playbook. That's all I want to do.
Exactly, right? Exactly. Yeah, if this was a Call of Duty list, it would be totally different.
He's number one.
He would be the list, I think. I don't know how many players are out there playing Call of Duty. But next I got Caleb Williams. Caleb Williams, I was fighting myself not to put him way lower. I just don't like his attitude. And I know that sometimes has nothing to do with football, but sometimes it does, and I don't know what he's going to be like if stuff starts going wrong. They did put a lot of talent around him. So if he is good as everybody thinks he's going to be, which I think talent-wise he is very, very good, maybe not generational like you say. I mean, that word is just thrown around too much, but he is a very, very talented player. So if he can just make it work with these guys and, nothing off the field happens, he's going to have a probably pretty good year. So I had to put him up respectable level. I think that 22 is fair. He can go up or down. It really depends on how he treats being a professional. That's my biggest question with Caleb Williams, but I could be overblowing that personally. Maybe I'm just reading the headlines.
It's crazy. Not to interrupt you. I'm still baffled that Bears have never had a 4,000-yard quarterback. I'm still baffled by that. So I definitely feel like can be that guy that can do that. But I'm with you, Joe, on the fact of I think we're all sitting back to see how much of a pro he's going to be.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's what we're all waiting to see. Is he going to be a pro? Because we saw what happened in college. We saw a lot of the off-field, not really controversy, but we've seen just a lot of different things. So we're wondering if that's going to be an issue in the locker room or, on the football field, in interviews. I think that's what we're all looking to see. How's he really react to that in the NFL?
Mm-hmm.
And if that's good, I feel like everything else will be good because, you got a lot of stuff around you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you got a lot of talent around you.
There's definitely a lot of noise around him coming out of the draft, right? Just like there's a drama, right? It's kind of like he didn't sign this, he didn't show up to this, and so on and so forth. We'll see how that goes, but it'll be interesting, man. Like I think the Bears are going to be fun to watch. Like I love that trio of Rome Odunze, DJ Moore, Keenan Allen. It's a great wide receiver. Like Keenan Allen, when he was younger, one of the best route runners in the entire league. Rome Odunze, man, he's like Larry Fitzgerald, reincarnate, man. He's a good little slot wide receiver. I like him a lot too. So it'll be fun to watch. We'll see how it goes.
Yeah, we'll see. With that, I'm still surprised how little they did for Justin Fields. So maybe they just, maybe they surprise him and be like, "Just kidding, we didn't get any of these guys. You got to play with nobody now."
Yeah.
But Will Levis, I got him at 21. Honestly, he was somebody that I kind of slept on because going into the draft, I thought they were going to just draft a quarterback. That's what I had them doing. I thought they were going to get a quarterback. But everybody was like, "Nah, bro, he's doing good. He's, we like him." And so I kind of watched him a little bit. He is decent. He's a pretty good. And I get the Josh Allen comparisons. I definitely get it. They look very similar in the way that they play. But I don't know. I said it earlier. I hate him because he left Penn State. Well, it's more of our fault because we didn't start him. But he was with Penn State for a little bit. And, he went on to do good things for Kentucky, right? It was Kentucky he ended up playing with.
Yeah.
He's a good player, man. He's a good player. I think it's either Mitch Trubisky or it's Josh Allen. That's to me. And maybe that's way too harsh, but I think that's kind of where he is. I think he has a really big arm. He can make plays, but is he going to do it consistently? Is he going to win you football games? I don't know. I really don't know. So Kentucky, he had a really good year there, but if I'm not mistaken, that's the only year he started. I don't think he started more than like 2 years. So I don't know. We'll
He
see
didn't
what
have that
happens.
bad. He didn't have that bad a year as a first year with Tennessee, though. I mean, it
No, he
wasn't
didn't. He
terrible, and
didn't.
he has some, and he's a physical runner. Like I said, not to interrupt you, just man,
You're good.
that's what I just keep on feeling like he's erratic. Like he's gonna have some real big games, but then gonna have
Yeah.
some really terrible games. Like you know
That's
what
what
I
I'm
mean?
saying. Yeah.
I feel like that's all you're gonna hear about Will Levis. Like, oh, Will Levis threw for 445. Like, okay, okay. Then the next game he's gonna throw for 203 interceptions and 1 touchdown. That's what I feel like you seeing gonna see from Will Levis.
And James, to
Man.
your point, he started his first game walking out against Atlanta, 4 touchdowns, 238 yards passing. Then he followed up with 2 games in a row without any touchdown passes at all. So he's definitely it's going to be interesting. But Tennessee's they're going to have to run the ball. I think they have a good rushing attack. They have good wide receivers too. So I don't know, but it's going to be all over the place for Will Levis. I agree.
Yeah, and you know, to finish it off at number 20, I have Derek Carr. And the reason why I have him so high is because, like I said, I really do think that if you switch him with Kirk Cousins, you're not losing it. They're the same, to me, they're the same type of quarterback. They're gonna put up numbers. They're not gonna really win you the biggest of games. They're, you know, but they're gonna put up numbers. They're gonna be good point guards. So I think that he's a good quarterback. Uh Lonely B does bring up a good point with, like, you know, Kyler Murray. You're not looking for another quarterback. With Derek Carr, you are. So I get it. Maybe,
Yeah,
you know, I should have took that into consideration, but I didn't. So
that's true.
it is what it is.
I can agree with that comment right there.
Yeah, I agree with that. I mean, but like I said, I didn't. I screwed up. It is what it is. That's why I went last. That's why I went last, because I know that everybody was gonna hate my list. You know what I'm saying? That's how it usually rocks. But no, I think we all did pretty good. I think we all had pretty, like I said, similar lists. Not crazy differences. But it's now we get to see what actually happens. How are they gonna play out? Uh, are these guys gonna be any good? Are these guys gonna be any bad? Before we get out of here, I want from everybody, is there a surprise? No, actually, let's do this. Give me your ranking, and don't do like the exact one, like just say top 5, top 10 of the opposing quarterback. So like we already did Jaden Daniels, everybody already put him out there. For example, I have uh Dak at top 10. I'll say he's top 10.
Mm.
And I have Jalen Hurts top 10 as well. Now it's y'all turn. I want to.
Go ahead. It's your time, George, on this one.
Yeah. So I think I don't have a list right in front of me. I definitely got Dak top 10. Like that's one thing. I'm gonna be honest with every time I walk on here. I'm gonna speak from the heart. I think he had a great year last year. I don't think Dak's a bad quarterback. I think he gets a lot of hate in Dallas land, and maybe James, you'll educate me as the year goes on. But I think that's a pretty good quarterback. I got Jalen Hurts. He's flirting with top 10. I don't know if he's actually in there, but he might be right out, which is a hot topic in Philadelphia. But like I think he's pampered, man. He got a great offensive line. He had great wide receivers. He had a good rushing game. That tush push, man, it made me so mad. I give her that rule. So that's kind of where I'm hating on it a little bit too. So maybe he's like number 9, number 10, but I kind of have him right outside because I think there are some really good passes in this league. So that's kind of where I'm at with him. And then Daniels, and then Jaden Daniels and Daniel Jones all the way to the end. You saw that.
Okay, now give me that question again because I want to make sure I answer it all the way correctly.
All right, don't give me exact, but I want to know where you have Jalen Hurts basically and Dak Prescott, like top 5, top 10, top 15, like just to round it up a little bit.
Dak is definitely in the Dak. He's in that top 5 for me, based on some things. Really, that this past year, I went on this past year was an extraordinary year for him because I thought he peaked. That's why I felt I had to. Jalen Hurts, he's right there. He's right there. That's all I can tell you. He's right there because I got to look at. Just what we talked about. I got to look at it like this. When we talked about it, Joe, when Jalen Hurts came to the league, I said he was like in the same boat like Dak Prescott. They was almost like the same players to me. That's what I said in the very beginning. They were like the same type players to me. And I said Jalen Hurts got to prove it. And remember, I told you this year after the Super Bowl, I said Jalen Hurts got to prove it again this year before I be like crown him like, okay, yeah, he legit. And what happened? What happened? You know what I'm saying? So now I'm like, So you know what I mean? This is gonna be a critical year of what Jalen Hurts really is, because all that stuff y'all talked about, Dak, this is what Dak really is. Well, if Jalen Hurts has that another year that he's had this past season, people are gonna be like, that's what Jalen Hurts really was.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
He's
I
gonna
mean,
get
it's
that.
good. It's going to be interesting because it's fair to have these. All these guys are so young, but it's fair to have these conversations now. We've seen enough. We know what these guys are. So yeah, I mean, hey, there's no excuse for this Eagles team and for Jalen Hurts in specific. I will say I think people will be very shocked where I have Dak Prescott. I will say that much. Maybe not as shocked with Jalen Hurts, but either way, that is our bottom 12. Excuse me. We're gonna do our mid tier, right? So like our mid 10 next week, and we'll go through that and see how everybody's got people shaked up. Let us know how you guys feel about our list. I mean, like I said, I think that it's all opinion, right? It's all opinion
Mhm.
until the games actually get played. But I will say I think that it made me open my eyes to what the landscape of the NFL looks like right now as far as the future and just present of it. But yeah, other than that, I don't got much else to say. Do you guys got anything you guys want to say to these beautiful people? We still got 210 people in the chat, so shout out to everybody.
No, appreciate you jumping on. Great comments, great feedback in the chat too. Don't be afraid to make fun of our list. You make fun of my list all you want. I want to get some feedback from you all. So thank you for jumping on.
Don't make fun of my list. I'm just kidding.
Hey, make fun of the list, but I think as a whole, I mean, we ain't the experts. It's funny when I look at some of these expert lists, it's kind of crazy. So there's all their, it's all their opinion too. They talk about these experts, they just guessing like everybody else. You know what I mean? No, nobody really knows. So this is all kind of fun just to have the list and see. But it's going to be interesting to see what these young guys do. I think that's my biggest thing, to see what these young quarterbacks, if they just made history of all these quarterbacks going in the first round, it's going to be interesting to see if they live up to that, because we've seen
Mm-hmm.
so many times how people are trying to live up to that 83 class where they had Elway and
Mm-hmm.
Marino and those type of guys. And they're always trying to stick those classes with those particular ones. And we're going to see if this is a class that really pans out with these quarterbacks, or did they really just overdraft? Because we're starting to see, you know, even with Trevor Lawrence, you got that money, but dog, you got to prove it. We're starting to see, hey, you can draft these guys and then overhype them and they not be it. So this is going to be interesting.
Yeah, Trevor Lawrence got paid.
A lot.
I ain't never believed that. And that was another guy that they said was generational.
Yeah. They throw it around
Yeah,
too loosely. You're right about that.
listen, I'm generational. You know what is
Gee,
generational?
for
Is this
real.
chat. This chat is generational. So we appreciate everybody in the chat, man. Be sure to hit that like, hit that subscribe wherever you are. Come back next week. We'll do this again and have some fun. But other than that, y'all know what it is, man. I was about to say it's fly equals fly, baby. Y'all know what it is, man.
Not
That's
today.
my dog. Yeah, not today. Not yet. Not yet. I can't wait. But yeah, that's my dog James. That's my guy George. We are the best of enemies. Peace.